crap was that intro loud? I don't know if that was my headphones or whether it's the video, but god damn it, like really loud. Anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. Today at an unusual hour with guests that we have not seen for a while. I'm your host, Tweak. We don't have Joker with us today because, well, he has small children, and that's what happens to you when you have small children. You miss all the fun. But in his place, I have two amazing guests. First of all, we have the lowest of men, Tom.
Hello, hi. Thanks for having me back on, man. I'm excited.
Finally, we've missed you. I've missed you.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to actually see you live this year, so at least this, right?
Yeah, this will do, man. I'll bring it to you. All good.
Exactly. And then someone who I think it's safe to say helped us grow and helped us actually kickstart this into whatever it grew into at some point. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Pumba.
Hello, guys. Hello, everybody. Nice to be back, to be honest.
And nice to have you back. I've missed that voice, so I'm happy to have you both. And I think the topic is going to be interesting. I think with these two, you can trust me on this one, with these two, anything that we talk about would be interesting. But we are going to be talking about the current meta. So we've had the balancing data slate, a couple of GTs happened. Last week we had the Pyra Cup, or one of the Pyra tournaments, the team events. So I just thought it might be interesting to discuss the current situation, which armies are doing well, which armies aren't doing well, and why. If something's good, why? If something's bad, also why? And then, do we expect some changes in the future? Is the meta fairly balanced? And I think something that Pumba will rage about is win rate the right stat to look at. But we will get there in a moment. But first, guys, we haven't seen each other for a while. We haven't spoken to each other for a while. What have you two been up to? Tom, let's start with you.
Yeah. So I was in a little bit of a post WTC coma for a little while afterwards. I took a little bit of a break. I've started a new job in real life, so I've been busy with that.
Congrats.
Which is cool, all very exciting. And then obviously in the last few weeks, ramping up to getting ready for application and process and stuff for this year. So I have to see how juggling commitments goes with the new job, but I'm taking a very active role in certainly organising and helping all the England selection stuff for that. And yeah, we'll see how I get on in that and whether I'm actually there cheerleading or playing. That remains to be seen. We'll have to see how I get on. But yeah, really enjoying all of that. And obviously stuff for 6+ is going really well. Channel's been going really well. Got a lovely team of people working there. And we've got, I think, the ITT coming up. So excited. I didn't play the last couple of ITTs but with the team because I had one with England, and then I was at WTC for the other. So I'm really looking forward to playing with my domestic team again as well. So yeah, lots of fun stuff going on, and we got a Drakari book and a Votan book. Lots of rules of stuff I like. So it's a pretty good time.
So what's the army that you're playing right now?
Well, I mean, it's Craftworld Eldar, but there is a Drakari book and a Votan. But we'll get to Eldar in a bit. But I hadn't played that book until after I got back from WTC, and I played it at an event with my teammates. I was like, oh, this is nuts. It's just so good. It's so
but you got me there.
I have been playing some Votan as well.
Yeah, for a sec you got me there when you said, yeah, we have a Votan book, Drakari book, so I thought one of those, and then you go with Craft Worlds. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I do I just love winning games,
Yeah, I heard that's fun. All right, good. Pumba, where have you been? Have you been active in the podcast, in gaming? I mean, tabletop gaming?
For the majority of the last year, I mean, I think the season officially for 40k begins and ends with WTC for me, at least, not with the 1st of January or whatever. So for the majority of last year, I've taken a bit of a break from the 40k and took care of my real life responsibilities, and as well as just enjoying the other things that you can do with your spare time.
I heard
having a summer is quite cool for traveling besides 40k events.
It's super fun. Apparently, it's really nice outside as well.
It is absolutely fucking amazing, bro. When you're not spending the entire June and July just in front of TTS instead of going out with your friends, that's so a real drug, I tell you. So yeah, that's basically what I've been up to. I also started a new job, actually. But now I got the bug in me back, to be honest. I think the majority of why that happened is actually the new Raven Guard rules. This is an army that legitimately revitalized my 40k. It might be the most fun army I've played this edition, because with 10th in general, we actually might touch upon this because that's quite an interesting thing for me. Um,
Your
10th,
mic is doing something, Pumba. I think
mhm, give me a
we're losing you, or maybe that's just me. But don't confirm. But I
It's
think.
okay. No, I think it's all right.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Cool.
Try
Okay.
again. Yeah.
Um, so 10th in general hasn't been that much fun for me for some reason, even though I think it's a great addition that has a lot of depth, and especially in terms of balance, we are in a better sport than ever, and we'll discuss it.
Hmm.
But it hasn't been that much fun. You know what I mean? It
I
doesn't
know exactly.
excite me anymore.
Yep.
It's very, especially if you play so much that after you play like two WTCs in this edition, you suddenly find yourself in a spot where none of the armies that you have on your shelf, or even when you think about playing certain armies, that doesn't really interest you that much. And now that Raven Guard has kind of changed that for me. I think this is an army that excites me quite a bit, and it might be the most fun that I've had this edition. So this is mainly why I'm back. And yeah, not particularly fond of taking any responsibility roles in terms of WTC for a moment, but we'll
Understandable.
see what happens in the future and stuff.
Yeah,
That's
and
good.
they'll convince you sooner or later. So, I mean, okay. So, the way I wanted it to go was show a slide that I found, I think, somewhere on Reddit. And again, I'll show it in a moment. So if someone recognizes it, please let me know that it's you, and we will shout you out. Otherwise, it's just stolen. But it basically shows like GT win rates since the data slate. It's a really nice slide that shows essentially what I just said. However, I'm going to show it in a moment. Before I do that, I just wanted to ask, since Pumba touched this already, what to you, or what constitutes fun for you, Pumba? Maybe this will help to set the scene. Like, what is fun? What makes this game enjoyable now? Because I understand it's not necessarily taking absolutely the strongest shit and like three of this, three of this, three of this, just the strongest what you have, putting it on the table. That's it. There must be something else. So what do you perceive as fun? And maybe this will help our viewers and listeners to understand through which prism you will be perceiving the meta.
So I think what is buggered me about this edition to some extent, in general, is the streamlining of rules to some extent, or especially army building. I feel like has to some extent limited your ability to express your skill through list building by including some of the specific tricks or like interactions in your list that are very that like constitute your like help your specific game plan or
Yeah,
gameplay
it's not
or like it's your
idiosyncratic
meta.
anymore. It's
Exactly.
yeah,
Perfectly said, actually. It often feels like you're playing a very similar playstyle between every army with similar tricks and with similar abilities across the game. Um, Something that I really came across at like one of my favorite armies of all time are Blood Angels, for example. And this is an army that I grew up with and became a better player with. And suddenly I find that I don't enjoy them as much because they fall into the box of like dudes in transports, for example. Like you have armies that are like two rhinos, squads with lords or like characters, the
yep,
game. And this is a little bit of a playstyle that is so prevalent in this edition with things like Chaos Space Marines, Blood Angels,
EC.
even Drukari, EC
Drakari,
now.
yeah. Yeah.
That is, it's like it's come kind of everything is becoming samey. You ask the same question about every list, and most of the played detachments kind of fall into the bucket of reactive moves, advance and charge, fall back and shoot.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, very samey abilities that kind of make the comparative gameplay between like you come to a table, and most of the things you will already know from playing different armies.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the game is simple to play or it doesn't require skill or ability to like it doesn't have the the ability to express skill. I think Liam, for example, playing the Rhino Rush, for example, via the VSL, that is Rhino dudes in rhinos and aggressive stuff around it to a perfect extent, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't trigger the same excitement in me. While playing Raven Guard, for example, and I think a lot of armies actually, or like a couple of armies do this. Eldari, I think, or one of them, where they really do something different,
Yes.
and they have the abilities to, like, every game you play, you have multiple choices to make that are very rewarding, or even if you make the wrong kind of choice, you are immediately punished for it, which is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
every game I play, I'm like, I have at least 6 or 7 opportunities to reflect back on the choices I made if they were the correct choices. Every game I play, I was doing that reactive move there the correct choice, or maybe somewhere else? Is overwatching here or holding it the beneficiary choice? Should I pick up this unit or that unit? What is my target priority? I have a lot of choices to make, and my final result strictly comes as a result of the decisions I made,
Mhm.
which is extremely rewarding as a playstyle compared to I stage my Rhino behind the wall, I disembark, advance and charge, and I probably kill that. If I don't, then I'm fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
This is kind of like EC
Yeah.
life for me.
yeah.
I think you're right. I actually think Eldar and Raveguard are a good comparison on that point, which is why they're both quite exciting. Is because they do have lots of
Like
different,
I will
a
always talk
lot of
about
agency and expression in the game, right? You've got a lot of control over
precisely.
where things happen and when they happen.
But at the same time, it's just not that flat. You have that form of expression where at least you have with Eldar, I don't know how many, 15 units, probably 15 plus, and at least they vary in like what they deliver, what you can do with
Yeah.
them, as opposed to, I don't know. I'm gonna say Custodes, where sorry, I play Custodes, and I designed a build. I'm playing a list with I play Solar Spearhead with 0 Dreadnoughts, just
Oh,
because,
nice.
yeah, because it just has interesting rules where bikes can go through walls, and suddenly the very slow army gets like
Yeah.
a lot of mobility, going 12 or 18 inches with turbo boost, blah blah blah, through walls. Tanks do the same. It opens up things that Custodes aren't actually able to do, normally, even if you play like lions, which is great as well. And I'm just having immense fun with that.
Yeah.
I own the army, so I'm looking for ways to just play creatively with them, and so far it pays off. So I hope, I'm taking it to a tournament. We're going to see how that fares, but that's what I mean. Like it is this at least a little bit of extra depth added to the
Yes.
army that it normally doesn't have. But sorry, Tom, you wanted to say something.
No, no. I think I agree with you, and I think I agree with Pumba in as much as I think you do want games to feel different and have different play patterns. And I think there is, for me, I think a lot of the fun is in feeling like you've cooked something up that's your thing, you're doing, you found something a bit interesting, you're trying something out. I like to be able to run a slightly different list each time I play. That keeps me happy with any army. I don't want to be like, this is literally the list and I will always take the exact same thing again every single time. It's nice to be able to tinker and adjust things. And I do also, and one thing I do think 10th has done better than the editions I sort of grew up in the game playing is I like it when the outcomes are largely on merit, right? Like I do like people to be able to compete and then see the very best are getting the rewards for being the very best. And I think 10th does that. I think maybe at times it sacrifices a bit of flavor and a bit of dynamism in order to achieve that. And it might be that's kind of the payoff, right? The compromise in that sense.
Agreed. Okay, so we know what constitutes fun for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was about what you play.
Mm-hmm.
What is fun to play against? And is that the same approach or is it different? Pumba.
I think what is fun to play against is the opposite what is fun to play, kind of. This is why people, and I will always jokingly sham Eldari, for example, especially
Yep.
Warhost Eldari, right?
Yep.
Or other tricksy armies with a lot of reactive stuff. Because this is something that also then introduced to some extent, which is quite interesting as a look back upon what we have right now, with things like Overwatch, with things like Rapid Ingress stuff, or like reactive moves, or yeah, basically that's the main ones, right? things that make you like interact during your opponent's phase or like your opponent's turn that mess with their plans somewhere, right? They are very skill intensive parts of the game, I feel like, for both sides, but obviously they are less cool to play against. It's very dissatisfying to find your plans be foiled by someone's reactive stratagem, by someone's reactive move, by any of those stuff, or like a good Overwatch stuff like this, right? So I don't. At least I think most people find this not fun to play against, maybe more difficult to play against than a lot of other stuff. For me, for example, I think things that aren't fun to play against that have also bothered me throughout this edition is stat checky armies.
Mm-hmm.
I think the 4-up feel no pain, especially, and like 4-up invents are still very prevalent. Less so than previously. I still think it's better than it used to be. We used to be in a world where if there is this like a vehicle, for example, or a monster without an invent, it just doesn't see play. That's where we were at, I feel like, with ninth. This is no longer the case, but I do fall into the wagon of people saying that maybe there is too much holes in the game in general, and their profiles aren't, defensive profiles especially, aren't necessarily cool to play against, because sometimes it just falls into the bucket of, do I have enough damage to chew through that? If not,
Mm-hmm.
we aren't really playing a game, right? You're just checking if I can score the math, the proper math on the spreadsheet, kind of.
And I think that knights take that to like crank it up to 11 basically, because sometimes I feel like I also play Death Guard, and if I don't have enough anti-tank in Death Guard and not enough like Death Shroud and so on, I just don't feel like leaving home, because it just feels like I'm neutered just by the fact that knights exist.
Mm-hmm.
Knights have kind of always been like that. They are either really good, and if you play against knights, you need to, like, the knight meta that happened this summer, I think, was a true nightmare.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah,
the WTC meta was legitimately just kind of fucked, in my opinion.
it was really, really effed.
But,
Yep.
but for example, now we will come to talk about it in a bit, I'm sure. But we are in a real, just unheard of kind of times, I feel. I don't think there has been a time since I remember where you could pick up so many different armies, and maybe they, as I've discussed, some of them feel samey, but it doesn't detract from the fact that you can legitimately go to an event with anything and nobody's going to disrespect you for it.
Yeah.
Uh, there isn't a single army, I think, in the game where you come across it and you're like, this is a free win.
Yeah.
Agents?
Legitimately, I don't think agents are that.
Yeah.
I think if a good player picks up agents, they might be playing to their disadvantage in some way. Maybe
Hmm.
there's something better. Maybe they pick guard, but maybe they're just playing a worse version of like primary denial army, and you're still going to get in trouble if you don't disrespect that in any way.
Yeah.
I think agents are terrible, but they are
Yeah.
nowhere near where a truly terrible army used to be.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
the current bottom is the middle of the pack of some metas.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
I mean, they
it's
still.
quite amazing that we got to that from the summer, right? Like it's literally one basically one balance run since the meta that we had for WTC, which felt very much not like that.
Yep.
To a place where there's so many different things in play, which is really cool.
And Imperial agents at 42.8.
Oh, they're climbing. They're coming.
Yeah. I mean, someone is doing
They're
the right
almost
thing.
they're almost at the OK zone.
Yeah, almost. Like just one balance, data slate away from being
Oh, being
properly
OP,
there.
mate.
But yeah, okay. So Tom, I'm gonna ask you about something that Pumba said basically. But
Yeah,
at the
sure.
beginning, Pumba mentioned that the armies do not feel idiosyncratic anymore. Actually, I said that, but fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. And that the game is like a little bit more flat and so on. But didn't we do this to ourselves, sort of? And
Yes.
and I mean, the rules are, well, I don't want to say simplified because like the entry threshold for this hobby is still quite high, but the rules are like homogeneous and shared by armies.
Yes.
But we also do this to ourselves with terrain, it feels like.
Yes.
Even WTC terrains, if you think about them, I might be wrong about this, but we used to have heavy, medium, light. Now it doesn't even feel like that. It's like the samey sort of location of terrain is just whether it's high terrain, low terrain. That's it. No forests, no craters, no whatever you call them, vents, and so on. In the past, that used to add that extra level of, I don't know, variation or
Yeah, for sure.
complication or something. Now it's gone. Is that taking the game into the right direction, and is that what we expect in 11th as well?
I think partly. I think do standardizing terrain does have that side effect of making it feel samey, right, over time, for sure, and it does do that. I think if the terrain is the same, that does then let you focus on the differences between armies and deal with things on that basis, right? So and you can get data that's where the if other variables are the same, you can actually get data on the armies and their strength versus each other, right? So I think there are some positives in that. I think one effect of balancing is that it does sort of rein in or get rid of certain things that feel a bit unusual. When we think about Thousand Suns, they certainly were a bit different, but they've now been nerfed very harshly for that, and so they've changed a lot in their character as a result, although they are still out there. And I do think there's something this edition to be said where I would say a design level from the Games Workshop end, I feel like Pumba's alluded to, they've handed out a lot of tricks to everyone, which has a positive balancing effect, because if Marines can do bullshit, that helps them deal with elves who do bullshit. But then if the Marines are also doing bullshit, they're not that different to the elves. So the character gets changed a little bit. I mean, even things like, the movement's gone up on EC, World Eaters, Space Wolves, they all got faster, right? So you're like, even at the baseline of what these guys do, their stats look more similar to some of the things that are supposed to be different to them. So that's, I mean, I've talked about that on our show a little bit. I think in a sense that, yeah, the territory that each army has for itself has got a bit blurry, and that they've kind of mixed up what different armies can do, which has had positive balancing effects, but does have the effect actually of because if everyone has access to reactive stuff, they'll use it. If everyone has access to quick stuff, they'll use it, and so that's kind of, you end up with everything being like that.
And would you like to see that changed in the 11th edition, which is supposed to come, somewhere next year? Do we want to keep the rule set similar to what we have now, or do we want GW to actually take the box that we call the meta and do like a massive shake and just say, stir up the whole thing?
I think it's probably continuing to add and find more interesting and flavorful ways to do some armies. Some armies just didn't get good rules this time round, right? They just didn't get great books. We did a whole codex tier list on the show this week, and it's like some codexes don't have the same flavor and range, and then some do. I mean, like I say, the Raven Guard rules for Pumba, they're amazing. The Eldar rules are amazing, right? So they can do it. So I'd like to see just more of that, I think, handed out to more armies.
Yeah, Pumba?
My opinion is, I think in 10th, you can really feel that the GW just went out and basically grabbed the pieces of community and made them balance the game.
Yes.
Like, legitimately, it is the biggest achievement of this edition by far.
Yes.
It is very clear to me that people who are parts of the competitive community especially did a huge job in balancing the game, which was a monstrous task.
Yeah.
What I would like to see, and this is very far-fetched, and I don't necessarily think it's going to happen or be easy, I would like them to get better at just diversifying stuff and trying to still rein it in with balancing. I don't actually believe it's going to happen, but my biggest thing would be actually allowing some breadth back to army building. Like, combining detachments. It doesn't need to be combining full detachments or something, but a little bit of play with how you construct your army, I think, would go a long way of how you design stuff, instead of being just this locked I pick a detachment. Those are my 6 stratagems. I know it kind of. I know why it was designed like that. It was a direct response to the rules bloat, to the ability of every army to have 1 billion stratagems, but maybe we went a tad too far. And this is, I think, a very biased take from someone who is so deep into competitive 40k or like spends a lot of time on 40k. I think the 96% percentile, maybe even 99, won't have those same reservations about their army building and stuff like that,
Hmm.
because they just don't play it as much. But this is my kind of wish list for what I would like, where I would like things to go. Um, Perhaps it is still possible to give us a little bit more ability to design your armies in a specific way, or like mix together stuff, or like maybe allies just a tiny bit, something, without it going all the way back to like 8th, 7th, and 9th levels bullshit, right?
Hmm.
Maybe just find the middle ground between those two
World.
polars. Yeah.
Hmm. Tom, do you miss like equipment on
Ah,
stuff that costs points?
Yeah, equipment I kind of got over. For me, I miss relics and warlord traits. Right, I like making little characters. It's fun.
mhm.
I think enhancements are fine. It would be nice to have that kind of level of granularity back. It's fun to customize your characters. I've got used to the weapons thing. I think I do actually prefer units having all the stuff they can possibly have, if that makes sense. That does feel better on the table. Some units are frustrating, like Cavalite Warriors, where you've got one of each gun, and you're just saying, "I just hope it does its job." But yeah, I think overall, I've got used to the war gear, but I'd like more customization at the rules level, the enhancements
Hmm.
level.
Yeah, and I think I also agree with what Pumba said about like community balancing the game, but I think it needs to be shouted out that this was only possible because GW actually properly simplified the rules, uh,
Yes.
or wrote them in a way that it became possible for the community to do it in a way that didn't actually break the game even more. So yeah, I guess kudos to GW for that. So okay, so we sort of did this lengthy intro into the meta. We know what is fun. We know what to look for in armies. So I'm gonna share that win rate thingy. Share screen. Let me have a look. This. And let me add this to the scene. It became very tiny. Spotlight. I think if people. Eh.
There you
Ooh.
go. There you go.
Ooh. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. Like so. Again, if you recognize this as your work, please let me know. I'll put your name, nickname in the description. I just found it very like neat and nifty and nice. But it was posted on Reddit originally. So we have the factions, we have the number of players. This basically is GT win rate since the data slate, and I'm not sure how we want to do it. Do we? I think well, the top three definitely deserve a mention, but then I think for the rest, let's just pick and choose whichever we
Yeah, yeah.
feel like
Sounds good.
talking about. So let's start from the top. I think we have Adeptus Mechanicus. What is going on there? Is there some hidden secret that people don't realize, because this isn't like an extremely popular army? Um, what's going on?
Well, I'm
What's
on
going
I'm
on?
on a Polish podcast, so you guys have always known. I know for a fact you
We've
guys
been
you
we've
guys
been
have
on
have,
it.
have always known that Adveg's good.
Amen. Amen,
Yeah.
Uh,
brother.
I I think we took it to the WTC for the second year in a row.
Oh
We're both,
yes, and
yes.
it was horrifying. It was murdering everyone.
Right. Pumba, what's the secret sauce then?
So I think the secret. I'm going to be straight up honest. I think Atmec is a broken army right now. That's my honest opinion. I think they were pretty good, but they were very much held back by their bad codex design, I'm gonna say it, or bad army design. I actually feel like this army is just terribly designed in a way which hurts them. Like, it isn't enjoyable to play. I certainly believe that. I also feel like they are getting, like, the people are getting priced out by the what this
Yes.
army has become. It is now just a horde, kind of very durable, very hordy kind of army, which you never anticipated it to be when you started playing Admech back when they came out.
Yeah.
But this is where we are. Um, they've got a bunch of rules that kind of are unfun to play. As That's my honest opinion. And I'm gonna actually go out and say I think the models themselves aren't particularly fun to play with, because if you're playing 30 Draxi, good luck fucking moving those things. I've seen
Yeah.
it back at actually Pyro and Tyler Bortel piloted them, and he hated every single second
He
of
was
it.
not enjoying that army one bit, was he? He was having
Actually, Duda in 2020 for the same thing.
yeah.
He after his WTC run, he told us all he's never going to touch them again,
Hmm.
because this is just not an enjoyable army for majority of people to put on the table.
Yeah, they are.
Um,
They're an ordeal to play.
yeah.
And anyone you see playing them over an extended period just looks a bit haunted by the experience.
Yes, maybe excluding Hyder because reasons, but yeah, this army is extremely good. I think it has been over buffed by the because of the fact that it hasn't seen much play, and it's quite difficult to play in comparison. It also is, I feel, very easy to make a bad build for Admech that is just going to do nothing and crumble against majority of opponents. So if you don't fall into the play style or like mindset to play this particular army, it's going to lower the win rate. And because of that, they have been buffed to an extent where I think they don't necessarily possess a very straight up weakness right now compared to everything else. They are more durable than a lot of other things. Like elves, look at those profiles with 4-up toughness tunes and 5-up inputs everywhere and be like, this is twice as hard as us, or even and everybody's like, no, surely you just kill those like infiltrators themselves. You really don't.
No, it's deceptive, isn't it? It's very deceptive, that toughness.
Exactly. They now have gotten basically oaths, and suddenly they are also an army that has multiple ways to kill you very efficiently across their data sheets, where this hasn't been the case before. They used to be a very board control-y type of army. Now they are that, and they now kill you like really fucking badly against majority of profiles, depending on what you're playing against.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask, like, is this an army that actually encourages various gameplay, game styles, or is it just one play style where you just swarm the table and then?
There's sort of a balance now to strike between, like, before it was like a jail army that also had damage, whereas now, because it has so much damage, you can choose to lean much harder in that direction and be less of the blocking and mission play and more of the I'm going to table you, basically. But those are the two sort of extremes, and I think you can build good lists that essentially do both now if you want to.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
And one thing that I always have to ask as well, like, because I understand that everything that we said right now applies to singles mainly. How does this army fare in teams? I mean, again, Poland took it twice to the WTC, so this must mean something. But like, does it play a specific role in teams? Do you take it to tackle something specific, or is it like an army that can take anyone, so that's why you take it?
I think it can be both, especially now. I think it used to be a little more focused. Like there were certainly armies that it couldn't play, and there were armies that they were better suited against. Things like Eldar never really liked them.
They don't like it. Eldar get tabled by the transport, mate. The dedicated transport kills the whole Eldar army on its own with the stubbers. It's ridiculous.
with the horde, and just they had a number of shots that just killed things like Eldar very efficiently. Now they really don't necessarily have that. Yeah, you can build a atomic list that just kills armor very efficiently. I don't necessarily know how they fare against things like elite infantry still. I think that might be a little bit weaker. They used to be a little bit weaker, but I think that changed with the advent of breachers / destroyers. I never remember which ones are which. But the damage 3 has gotten much better than it used to be. So I think right now they are just very versatile in that sense. I'm sure they have worse and better pairings in their matrix. I'm just not particularly sure what the bad matchup is right now. I'm gonna be straight up honest. I think they are
Yeah.
Wow.
just very good.
I think if they're building for their boards and they're building, in a way that suits how they want to play, they're really good. They're really good. And some of the different versions have weaknesses depending on, like, if you take Hunter Cohort and then you play Tau, which ignores all the mods. It's like you like the aspects of different detachments work less well into different armies, but they now just have a lot of stuff with a lot of output, and that's as we know, that makes a good army, right? At any moment in time, if you have slightly too much stuff and your output's good, that's where you're at. You're in a good spot.
And Tom, what's your perspective, like, on the army from, like, UKTC sort of perspective?
I think it's
the tables
very.
are slightly different,
I think
right?
it's very solid on UKTC. Yeah, I mean, it shoots well. I think hiding and staging things like Taraxi can be a bit awkward and difficult, and getting them from ruin to ruin and getting the army around. I don't know that its advantages are that as pronounced as it could be, but I think it is very strong. I think it definitely works very well.
Okay. I think we covered it from, like, every single angle. If we haven't, our listeners, please let us know in the comments and we can come back to it. But I'm going to spotlight the thingy one more time, because actually, let's pick something from the bottom. And we've touched on Imperial Agents. I don't think it makes sense to go extremely deeply into that. But what is more interesting, at least to me, is
Very interesting.
Astra Militarum being the second from the bottom, which, again, I'm a newbie, let's say. I would think that Astra Militarum and Adeptus Mechanicus sort of represent a similar playstyle, at least in theory.
Yeah.
So what is going on there? And Tom, let's start with you this time.
I mean, I play against Guard semi-regularly because we have a Nassim Fouchain in our ranks, so you'll know he quite likes his Guard. They're good. Guard are good. They're in a good place. I think they are probably not in a very exciting place right now. I think the reality is the index detachment is still the best one. So Guard players, and I know Gaylord, talking to David Gaylord about this, he feels similar. They feel like they've done the same thing for years. So I think they've lost interest. I think there's a little bit of, there's not anything terribly exciting going on with Guard. So I think if you were going to teams and you were a great Guard player and you knew that would be a great asset for you in teams, you'd take it. We've got a teams event coming up where I know Gustavo Souza, who's a fantastic Guard player, will play it because it's what he knows inside out. He knows he can predict and deliver on that, right? But are you going to run off to singles to play combined regiment some more at the moment? Probably not, right? I don't think it's quite got the same draw, and I think it's probably a case that book has taken quite a lot of nerfs and adjustments over the last year or so, and I think actually inadvertently some of the diversity of options for Guard have been the casualty. So I don't think we're seeing that many out there. And then Guard is an army, and we'll talk about win rates, but Guard is an army that famously a lot of people play Guard. Not all of them are that bothered about how competitively tuned their Guard is, right? They want to play their Krieg or they want to play their tanks or whatever it is, which I think, and it's a bit like with an army like Orcs, where that has a sort of suppressing effect on the win rate as well.
Yeah. Now, Pumba, question, because I'm looking at the army stats from Pyra. And again, we had 10 teams at Pyra. That was a 5v5, so I assume 50 slots that Astra Militarum could fill in, and only 2 people took them. Does it mean that they don't play a useful role in teams, or again, like Tom said, it's just samey? No.
I think we, looking at just, especially when we're talking about team events, I think right now, and especially in Vias, where we are in a very particular spot where looking at just how many teams took something doesn't necessarily translate into the strength of the army.
Yeah.
Because as we've discussed from the very from the very beginning, the meta is just so wide open.
Yeah.
We are in a very unique sport where there isn't an army that you need to take, or like nothing straight up beats everything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a trump card that you just pull out in your pairings as your first defender and you don't care anymore. This army doesn't exist right now. Because of that, the armies that people are taking to the teams events, and especially fives, I think are just armies that they are best at.
Yeah.
And this is probably the best thing you can do right now. Unless there's like a grand design behind your entire team composition, which is still going to be extremely difficult to implement even in fives or like even in eights, besides WTC itself, which is very like hyper focused teams and hyper focused people. Majority of team compositions right now are going to be just things people have and are excited to play and they want to play with. I think Tom legitimately just hit the
Nail on the head.
Nail on the head. Thank you very much. By describing it as not very exciting. Although we have talked about like David not being excited about them and expressing that multiple times, he still picked it up for like a random Vizsla TTS league. So like it's still fine. He's going to do great with it.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure. And Nassim is going to still beat 98% of the people he plays against with this army.
He just doesn't want to do that right now.
Exactly. Like,
he wants a couple more percent.
Yeah.
And we just saw Nemo just demolish LVO with the Recon Guard, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I suppose Recon is probably, and and the French had it at WTC. That's an area that is still a bit Wild West and clearly has some power to it and sits in an unusual spot as well.
I think if you're the 1%er who will put 200 games in, you should play Recon. But if you're not, maybe don't.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, the theory that you shouldn't look at how many how big representation of the army at an event is, that it speaks about its strength. But sorry, I'm gonna pick something from the middle of the table just because we have Tom here, and I really need to understand what happened at the LGT. So I'm picking from the middle of the table, like a little bit above the middle, World Eaters.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Like, how many World Eaters were there? We're
there
talking
was a lot of World Eaters.
Almost 50%. So many World Eaters at that event. Why?
Here's a really fun one, right? I think one of my theories about the wider commentariat for 40k is that over the last few years, a lot of the people who create opinion in 40k have gone into the teams sphere, right? Most of them are now teams players. And a lot of them are exclusively teams players, in fact. They don't do singles as much. Now, you think about StatCheck or you think about Fireside, you think about even my own team, right? We're much more teams focused than singles focused these days. So your opinion of armies is shaped by teams. And World Eaters is a great example where in teams right now, World Eaters can be horrifying because if they can get you pinned into the right combination on the right board, there's very little you can do. Does that translate to them being good in singles in UKTC? I would say no, it doesn't, because it's a very different terrain set. And actually, you could play anything. You might play triple Gatling to spoiler, and then it doesn't really matter where you go. You're going to die, right? So it's like I think that buzz and that hype around World Eaters got picked up, and people were very excited about them, and a lot of people took them. But actually, I think they're an incredible teams army. I don't think they are the be all and end all in singles, although I think they're solid. But actually, looking at I write up the singles events every week with the Goonhammer stuff, and they've been there, they've been in and around it, but they've not been dominant. They haven't been sort of smashing everything. So I think LGT was a little bit of the sort of the buzz and the hype coming out of people who are very teams focused and who know how good that army is in teams. But then actually it didn't translate to them being the sort of the world beaters in the end on that terrain set. But UKTC I always think is a terrain set where you want to be very quick and fighty and you want to be good at shooting and speedy. And if you can do those things, you're great. If you're just one of those things, eventually you hit something that does something you don't like. And that's kind of what played out for them, I think, at LGT.
Okay. Pumba, do the World Eaters actually tick the boxes of what is fun or what constitutes fun for you?
I think that it genuinely is one of the reasons why people like them so much and why so many people just grab them. They are very much a different army than everything else. Mm-hmm. And while they were strong, definitely not that strong on UKTC, as everybody found out very quickly. They were just a fun thing to play in this edition. while they were quite on like a wave of hype swept through them. But they are definitely something else than the majority, and they just threaten your opponent. They are much more enjoyable, I think, to play for people than
Oh yeah.
other games. Like you compare them to Guard that we just discussed. Man, I know who's getting more fun. Like
Yeah.
people just fucking running 50 zergs at you, doing your
Yeah.
reactive move. Sorry, not reactive move, but
Yeah, Surge.
Surge.
Yeah.
surge bullshit, and capturing everything and then slaughtering it in combat in your opponent's turn. Or like move blocking with 10 guardsmen and then denying your primary. One of those is not like the other.
Yeah.
And I think even though those two playstars actually, I think, are maybe even like the primary denial game is going to be better, it's not going to make more people play the army.
That's completely right.
So I think this is kind of what happened with them. They are also the champions of not converging into the like their tournaments in winning position are like insane.
Yeah. They're bridesmaids.
And then
right?
their over rep, which is a stat that we track, that stat check, which is
Yeah.
just how many people came in top 4 compared to like the amount of people that took the army, is not that good actually. So they are good and reaching that like 4 wins, and then just fucking crumbling at the last possible second.
Yep.
100%.
The conversion rate was always stable. Anthony always laughs about it. I do recommend.
Yeah, for sure. And like the Berserker Horde is so good in teams, like it's a really strong list. And then I do think, if you're a player, the army rule, just the set of buffs you get. If you're a combat player and you're like, I can 6-int fight and consolidate everywhere, I can 4-up fight on death everywhere, I can have sustained and lethal. It's like those are just things combat players like to have. They're a really good set of tools. And
Perfect toolbox.
The army's a lot of fun to have, but it's being played a ton, right? So it's very interesting that whilst very popular at the moment, its win rate actually is nothing remotely exciting, right?
I think they are also the victim of the fact that like the meta, or at least how I perceive it. Hi, Dan. The meta is such that you have many armies that counter elite armies, and if you can counter elite armies, you can counter Space Marine bodies, essentially. So
they have a target on their heads at the moment, right? I think they probably are one of the most thought about armies in the game for people who are building solutions into their lists, and that's not an easy position to be in, especially if you're not actually broken, right? If people are preparing for you like you're broken and you're not broken, I don't think World Eaters are. I just think they're good. Then that's a tough position to be in.
Completely agree. Okay, spotlighting the list again because I would like to touch upon.
I love this. It's the random wheel of tweak decides where we're going.
Yeah, I'm the host.
I love this actually.
Yeah, it's good. It's much better.
But I said that we have to cover at least the top 3. So let's pick the second one. We have Eldari at 54%.
Yep.
And now I'll add a little bit of a twist to the question about them. Is it a single build, a single detachment that achieves that score, or is it just the army across the board? And I'm talking also about like Harlequins and so on.
I think this current meta for me is I would say it's the aspect host meta. I don't think it's unfair to say that Warhost is also really popular and people are doing stuff with Warhost, but I think the thing that has carried them over the last few months is aspect host. And it's kind of funny because I think the sort of take a bunch of Phoenix Lords, play very aggressively, was probably the first thing a lot of people tried. I remember I played against Nicholas from Team USA at Pyro, and he was trying that out. But actually then everyone was like, oh wait, Ynnari's nuts. So we kind of dropped that and we all went and played Ynnari for ages. And it's funny that it's taken this long for that to come around, but basically it's a style that was very good into Knights and Death Guard. And obviously, there was the 30 Swooping Hawks and the Mortal Wounds and all this stuff. But that style of go very fast, hit extremely hard, and use all the Phoenix Lords to pull off like the most extreme alpha strikes I think the book is capable of. Except for, I think Windrider Host is actually technically capable of a more extreme alpha strike, but that only works on certain things. Whereas this has a tool for everything, right? So I think it's an aspect host world at the moment. And then I think obviously, we talked about it. It's interesting, there was a lot of people talking about this after the slate where some people thought they got away with it. Some people thought they'd be kept in check. But they are evidently, certainly from an event results standpoint, they are demonstrably winning a lot of events. They're in a very strong position. I say I played some games with it immediately after I got back, and I was like, this feels extremely strong. I don't know if it's just because I've been deep striking in and walking 6 inches for 3 months, but I was like, you know what, going 26 inches and charging, it's pretty fun. It's pretty good. So I think they're probably, on the evidence, they're probably still a little bit too good. I don't know exactly what it is you change, whether they just need to drop another unit from the lists, or whether there's something in there that's inherently too good. I'm not sure. But also the Eldar book has a lot of different ways to play, so I think it adapts as well. I don't know how you see it, Pumba.
The book makes me book makes me jealous because at the
It's
time
so wild.
when it came out, it was like the most sophisticated and I think
Yeah,
well
it's
written.
crazy well written.
Like for the fans of Eldari, that book
Yeah.
actually delivered, and it delivered on everything.
And where the index was like just sort of carrying a hammer around, this is like a rapier, right? This is really precise and finessed.
Pretty
And
much.
you do feel like you're doing the Eldar thing because you have that moment of, oh, there's my in, I take it, I put the whole thing in, I go really fast. It's not like I delete you with a Wraith Knight or a D cannon or whatever else, right?
Pumba.
So, 100% I agreed with what Tom said, to be honest. But I think if we are trying to find a reason why Inari are just so... Eldari are so good, as Craftworks are so good, especially, I think they are just a tiny bit too fast for the rest of the game, comparatively.
That's fair.
Speed is just, I think, the most important stat in the game. Like, fast gun good has been a thing for ever. And they just do the fast gun better than everyone still.
Exactly.
It has kind of also... I feel like this has always been the case for Eldar. It's not new that they just move with their boats through walls 16 and shoot you. Now they just do it with warp spiders and Lycus, and they charge you after that, right?
Yeah.
That ability, I think, enables them just to be a very good captain. But I don't feel like they are just super out there still, right? I don't like... They are definitely not an army that doesn't have a counter. They are not unplayable against. I think I'm going to have an interesting question for you, Tom. Do you think it is easier to play Eldari than against Eldari?
As in easier to play to use it than to play against it. Oh, it is
To
categorically. Yeah, I find using it far easier than playing against it. Right. I
think I agree.
Yeah. What I think the thing with Eldari is, and it's where the speed is so important, is in any game of 40k. And this is actually one of my gripes when I was doing obviously we're testing Votan. One of the things I said when I was testing Votan was, even if I get an advantage in this game, I'm not going to get that many more points because I am not quick enough to make that matter. If a mistake gets made and I suddenly get to push a flank, it's still going to take me 2 turns to get to their home, right? Whereas when you're playing against Eldar, if you make a mistake, they can hit you with the entire army wherever it is you've made the mistake. And that's the difference, I think. I think especially in a singles sense as well, it is tough to play against. And in singles, you're always looking for that edge, right, between 2 players. And the thing with Eldar is when your opponent makes a mistake, you can go for the jugular, probably better than most other armies can. And I think that's a big part of it.
I 100% agree. I think Eldar being hard is a cope.
Yeah,
and I've said it multiple times. Agree. And I especially said it after I played that army for the first time and 16 Fort Skark with my fourth game or third game with it.
Yeah.
And I was then reminded why moving 24 inches or 16 inches or whatever you want on majority of areas fixes so many of your mistakes.
You can fix any problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And does exactly what you described. It is enabling you to attack your opponent exactly where they fucked up, made a mistake, or where they are weak.
Yeah, completely. No, I think it's probably the easiest rule set I've played with in 10th edition, without doubt.
Coincidentally, that nice rule set is also supported by fairly low point cost.
Yeah. It's semi elite, right? It is semi elite. I think it's not. You do still have a bit of MSU, and it does die. But the thing is, like all armies, it gets to decide when it dies, and then at that point, you're not actually fragile, right?
Yep, that's very well put.
Yeah.
Okay, spotlighting the list again. An army that is interesting, and I think it has a ton of potential, but for some reason this is not reflected, at least on this list. Tyranids.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay, so I thought that when they got this new detachment, the tunneling detachment that allows you to basically do the Grey Knight thing, but in a very specific and very interesting way, they would just skyrocket to success. Uh, didn't happen, or at least the stats are not showing it. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting it because the differences aren't actually that big on that list. But Tom, how are Tyranids doing? In UKTC, and is this an army that you specifically prepare for when you build your army, or not
Yeah,
really right
I
now?
I think they are suffering a little bit in the UK. I don't know. I don't know more widely than that. I think it's obviously it was one of the first books to come out. I think it has. We've always talked about it on our show. As it's got some great rules, but it doesn't have great stats. If that makes sense, like it doesn't have the best damage. It doesn't have the best durability. It has some really cool, flavorful tricks and tools, but you can't always rely on these. Any army where battle shocking is a big part of it suffers sometimes because sometimes that just doesn't happen. And it's felt like I think Subterranean Assault had some really bonkers cool stuff going for it and still hasn't made that much of a splash in the UK. One or two players, I think Scott Morris from Carnage did very well. Played against Josh in the final at one of the super majors, so he took it a long way. And I think it's a really cool rule set, but that hasn't actually lifted them. And actually, I haven't seen. I don't think all NIDS players have actually really even gone with that. Like, and I don't
Hmm.
think all NIDS players have actually played Sub Assault that much. I've seen more people, as many people trying like Vanguard again in recent times.
So I hear.
Yeah, I think Nids like challenger cards going away because they are an army that likes to like kneecap your score and not your opponent not just getting a bunch of points for killing you whilst you're
Hmm.
trying to do that is nice. They like that. Um, but it doesn't. I don't think it's one that has a lot of eyes on it. Although I think what I would say is I think it's probably there may be things that could still yet be found in Nids that might be interesting. But I think that doesn't feel like there's a direction for the faction in the UK at the moment.
Okay, Pumba, general impression, and then the perspective of teams, maybe.
The
Would
general
you take it in?
impression,
Yeah, then would you take it in the top 8?
no, just straight up no.
Hmm.
Uh, if I had some Pope on my eight
Yeah,
roster now,
yeah,
it changes.
yeah.
So we're back to the thing that we are always discussing. Is I think they're completely fine, but they are suffering from what Tom said. Is they were one of the first codexes,
Hmm.
and to be honest, compared to how old codexes used to fare after 2.5 years of the edition, I think they are in a fine spot comparatively, but this is only comparatively. They've had a couple of updates, but I think especially after ninth, when they every pip of their stat was too much, now they are kind of at the back end of maybe some of the pips of their stat lines are just a little too low. Like maybe once more strength on some guns or some weapons would be nice. Maybe some more AP
Hmm.
stuff like that would be favorable. I don't think the army is bad. I think the army is perfectly fine. I think gargoyles are still one of the most broken fucking things
Yeah,
in for the
Gargoyles
game.
is so good.
I'm sorry, it's still the case. It's been for the entire edition. Uh, I think people are just not very excited to play them
Hmm.
because it kind of sucks to compare their stat lines to the rest of the things.
Mm.
And maybe some of their matchups are a bit more scuffed, and maybe the fact that knights have been so prevalent for the last
Hmm.
Yeah.
couple of months, maybe just they don't really have anything like any momentum going for them, right? They're just kind of stagnated on a leveling field. I think they're like around 50% win rate, stuff like that, and they are completely fine there. And maybe if you're some Pope or some excited guy, you can pick them up and still do real well with.
Yeah.
But they don't have like that urge to play them. Something new, something exciting, like new
No,
rules to.
exactly. And they've had lots of little like injections of new rules and new love, and the Raveners are cool. I think the Raveners are
Oh, the
very
new Ramblers, for
Raveners are a
example,
lot
are.
of fun. But it is more of that Nid thing of like, yeah, you've got a bunch of damage there, you've got a cool unit, but also if something goes wrong and something sees that before you get to use it, it just evaporates and you
Yeah,
lose like 250 plus points. It's not good.
unfortunately. All right, let's do justice to the top three, and in the top three we also have Adepta
Now
Sororitas.
this is the really exciting one, right?
That's the
This is
army. I can say
yeah.
that the only thing that I know about this army, or maybe two, but the top thing that I know about this army is that Typhus plays it. And if Typhus plays
Yes.
something, it must be exciting. So
Yes.
I'll shut up now because that's all I know.
I'll let again. I know this is popular in Poland, so I'll let Pumba lead, as I'm sure he's got some ideas on this via Typhus as well.
So what I'm going to say is I don't necessarily know what the fuck happened in the meantime, but when I came back to 40k and wanted to get some pickup games, the first 4 games that I was able to find was all against Halmar's sisters.
Interesting.
And I legit don't necessarily know why that is. So the most popular build, or the variations of it, are like the 30 Sacrosanct blobs. And this isn't, besides its tricks with like things that they always used to be able to do, with like the resurrecting characters, or you must hit me in combat with the heroic stuff like that. It doesn't seem that exciting to me. I know like we've discussed Typhus. Typhus, I think, right now kind of pivots away from his tried and true triple exorcist after getting fucking wrecked
Had to happen eventually.
Yeah.
But the army is just extremely strong. I think it is the, what should I call it? The hammer in a metaphor of nails.
Yeah.
Would you call it that?
Yeah.
That famous expression that we use.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
I think it fits what against things that are popular. I think elves hate it.
Elves
I
do
think
hate it.
a lot of other Space Marines armies, or like melee armies, hate it. It's kind of bipolar in a sense. I think it's either you really can just pick up like the 10-man Sacrosanct blob in a swing, which a lot of things are able to do, by the way, or you can't. And I think if you play against that a big portion of the meta that can't do that, you're in the prime position to win, and through like stat checking essentially, and some tricks of your own, and by the virtue of the fact that miracle dice are still absolutely fucking broken. They always were, and they will continue to be the best possibly right now army mechanic in the entire game, right? I think that carries them a long way. I don't necessarily know what happened that everybody just picked up sisters suddenly. Like,
they were cheap on the marketplace.
I guess they were really not that popular not long ago, and suddenly everybody is playing the Haldemarches build.
Yeah. Tom, is it the same in the UK?
I think there's interest in Hallowed Martyrs. There's the Champions of Faith is seeing some use. And I think the other one I'm spotting is Bringers as well. But I think people are getting a little bit of attention back on Bringers of Flame and the speedy shooting as well. That might be a UKTC thing because they can stretch the play like Tau have been doing lately. I think if people look at Tau and go, fast assault shooting is good, then you can look at Sisters and go, fast assault shooting will also be good, right? And I think like Pumba was saying, they can just play well into a whole bunch of different things. You've got some armies just coming through, I don't know if we'll talk about them or not, that like to charge you in your own turn. You've got some armies that like to surge into you in your own turn. So having stuff that can, like good hammer activation units, like for example Val, who doesn't mind being surged into by something because her unit will then just blast that thing to bits anyway. Like there's various different good options there. So yeah, no, they're in an interesting spot. I think they've been quietly buffed back into life over a couple of slates, so it's nice to see them back, I think.
Yep, agreed. The more variety, the better.
Oh,
now, I'm gonna spotlight the list again, and now let's do a little twist. Pumba, pick an army that you want to break down.
What would I like to break down?
I mean, I would expect you to be
there's
somewhat excited by Deathwatch, but
you see, but I'm not.
so that's why I'm letting you choose, because my choice would have been wrong.
So I will just quickly touch upon Deathwatch, just very briefly, if we can. I think the army is way better than some people give it credit to, David Gaylord especially. But I think the army is as good as your opponent just sees them on first time against them on the table. And if it isn't, if they read the rules and play them like twice, it gets so much worse. That's their main weakness and their main strength. I think they just deliver damage, but in a way that can be prevented. And their defensive profiles are such that if you have the tools, they will melt in like absolutely get wrecked on the actual table.
Yeah, they really will. Yeah, that's fair.
So that's Deathwatch for me. The other, what is actually an army that I would like to talk about? I think I would like us to touch a little bit upon the new Drukhari. Of course, the stats here are from the
they'll be
past
the old.
essentially.
Yeah.
But I really am excited about them as
a
as something new, something that is unsolved in a way. And I've seen very different opinions about it. I think Poland is, from the vibes I'm getting throughout the community and throughout talking with a lot of people, I think people are generally saying they are fucking broken here. Whereas I don't think that's been the case throughout the world at large. So I'm wondering why that is. And like, I've seen people describe certain units as good, broken, and completely fucking terrible. So at least we have a differing opinions on it, which is already quite nice to see.
But is it like data sheets? Is it detachments? What is it that makes it?
Everything.
Okay.
You have people that are saying playing anything other than Reaper's Wager is absolute trolling. And you have people saying that which detachment needs to get nerfed ASAP because it will absolutely bully the fuck out of you.
I think the witch cult one is the detachment that is making the most waves internally here as well. And
that's the only one I've heard about.
Which does, it has, it has the charge the opponent in them at the end of their movement phase, which is the first few times you play against that. That's a deeply unsettling thing to have happen to you, right? And that does feels a bit like Phantasm because they have perfect knowledge. It's the end of your movement phase. There's nothing you can do now about it. I think it's interesting. I've not seen how the lists with Reaper's Wager are getting on because most of the people I know have been testing Witch Cult primarily. But the book, I think the book seems good. I think it seems strong. I think it very much enjoys some of the armies that are out there at the moment because they want to run at you, and if you suddenly say, well, actually, I'm going to charge you instead, that's quite sad for some of those armies.
And the rest of the world is just waiting for Skari to sort of point the way and pave the way for the rest of the world.
I'm sure he will do all sorts of
outside of
things with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I also see people like Sacco, like people like Liam playing them. So there's a lot of momentum.
I've seen Liam playing it. Which
I've seen his 30 Hellions list. That looks absolutely fucking terrifying. I've seen people running 18 Reaver bikes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different directions, and I think there's a lot of excitement with good players everywhere.
Yes.
So like, you will see different stuff performing well, which is, I think, quite fun for the faction.
Yeah. I think so, and I think the character of it has changed because a bunch of the units went and changed, and it's got some really cool things in there. Malice is really cool. I think new Drazar is awesome. He's even better than before, and the Ravager is back as well. Ravagers are quite good again now, and the new Pain tokens seems to be working just fine. So I think we'll see quite a lot out of the book. It's got a way to go. I think at the end of the day it's Drukhari, right? It's still super fragile, so that does always mean it can be exploited in certain ways. It's always vulnerable to certain kinds of things. But then it is, I think it's got some very cool tricks going on.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool when you get a new book that get this sort of vibe that pro players are interested in it. They are like nitpicking and cherry picking like the best stuff, and then the rest of the people will just follow the trends set by them, I guess. So good. Okay, Drukhari. Excited to see where they end up, like at the end of November, let's say.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
by that time, actually, people will get to play them properly.
Yeah, and again, new book dropping into a meta that's just been rigorously balanced. That goes one of two ways, right? A lot of the time.
Yep. All right, Tom, your turn.
I'm going to pick out Death Guard because I'd not heard much out of Death Guard, but then Alban wins Paris with Death Guard, and I thought that was worthy of comment, right? I think Alban obviously smashed up WTC with Death Guard, playing Virulent. That's an army which took heavy nerfs and which a lot of people have dropped playing, as far as I can see. Like it felt like every other practice game I played for the whole summer was Death Guard.
And every other article that you wrote was about Death Guard.
And every other article I wrote was about Death Guard, exactly. And then now actually they've really dropped off. So I thought it was really interesting to see Alban win that event, because Alban is an expert, because he's had to be for the whole of the last run. I don't know if he's always been a Death Guard lifer or not. I don't know his history particularly well, but obviously he will have chained Death Guard throughout WTC with France, and the fact that he can turn up and put that result up with it, I think is really cool. I think it shows that army's not dead. I think it's obviously settled down in a balanced standpoint. I think potentially it's a little bit wedded now to Virulent. I think maybe Virulent is the way now for that army, but I think it's evidently still got some legs. So I thought that was interesting to see. But I think on all data, on all metrics, it's very middling now. It's very average. But obviously, like Pumba was saying earlier on, if you're an expert in something in this meta, you can make it work. And Alban's like, well, I have a ton of Virulent games. Let's put that to work, and he did.
So you're suggesting that winning War Masters into winning WTC into going into straight into preparing like the qualifier tournament for the captain of France, the Big Four tournament, and then into one of the biggest French singles events with the same army makes you a fucking expert and makes you basically immune to anything.
It's a wild take. I'm not afraid to say it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it was cool to see. Very well done to Alban, because he's very talented.
And it also takes like some guts to take an army that absolutely everybody and their grandmother are prepared to play against right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've reached this status, it feels like. And I experienced this in our local league that we had. I got to like a semi-final of the league, and I was playing against a guy who was playing Necrons, and he just outright said, "This list is tailored to beat you." To beat your army, because nobody expected me to be in the semi-final. But there you go. So he was like, "This is tailored to beat you." The two Doomsday Arcs, they just open up Terminators like crazy, and then I have this and I have that, and I lost. Maybe it was foreshadowing or something, but essentially he achieved his goal with his list. So it feels now that everyone just knows what Death Guard does, they know how Death Guard does it, and they know how to counter it. But Pumba, would you share that view?
Yeah, I think the story of Death Guard is quite interesting, because it is a story where community at large was wrong after the changes.
Yes.
I think the 90% of people and 90% of takes were that this was a good nerf for Death Guard, but they are probably still too good.
Yeah.
This is where we need to take a humble pill and agree that GW Balance Team did the better job than the entire 40k community here. Because they've done perfectly. Like, balance the army right into the middle. They aren't too good. They aren't too bad. They are a little bit straight up, because it's kind of Death Guard. And what do you expect? But they are definitely not too good. And everybody expected them to... you look at every tier list after the changes, and what's on top was still Death Guard. And they were not even close to that spot. So the 40k community at large missed the mark on their assessment, I think, for this RB after the changes. But the balance team has done incredibly well there. Not over-nerfing them, not under-nerfing them, as everybody expected that to happen. So kudos. That was, I think, very difficult. It was very easily done. I think if they implement the changes the majority of people wanted, like nerfing some parts of the Mortarian Hammer even more, or like
Marines
or
if
else.
Death Shroud had taken like a rules nerf as well as
exactly.
That would have been
I think that would have been legitimately soul crushing for the army.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So good job, GW
Yeah,
Balance team.
well handled. Put Death Guard back to where they normally are, which is in the middle somewhere.
Perfectly good.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes. I'm just gonna do my pick, and then I think we can wrap. Dear listeners, watchers, followers, if there is any army that you would like us to give our take on, just put it in the comments, and then we will come back to it. But I'm just really interested in this, like, difference of where the armies are. If you look at the table again, we have Chaos Knights around 49% and then Imperial Knights at 45. So what happened that we have two armies that are, I mean, you could put them side by side and just two different flavors of the same thing, and yet one is faring better than the other.
So
What happened there?
I think that the same tragedy that caused the night meta for WTC has now hurt IK now, right? Which is that because that book didn't come when it was supposed to, all of the interaction with how that book has been balanced has been out of sync. So they got a bunch of changes which were supposed to come in line with the book, which then made their index absolutely insufferably good, which then meant the index got nerfed a lot, which then meant when the book arrived, it's carrying a bunch of nerfs, but then the book is different. So that's left IK in this incredibly distorted spot, right, where they've just not actually... The way that they're being treated and their rules have been completely out of whack the whole way through the last 6 months, basically. And then CK, I think, have just been balanced down to being quite a scary but manageable army that are very, very good but have bad matchups. That's I don't know what Pumba thinks. That's kind of how it looks from where I'm standing.
I couldn't have said it better. I think IK are suffering for the sins of their better brothers and for the sins of Night Summer. To be perfectly honest, and I think even if they were better after the changes and how much worse they are right now compared to where they've been, I think they are also suffering from abandonment. Like nobody wants to play Knights anymore, and if anybody wants to play Knights, like the entirety of Sweden apparently, they will just play Chaos Knights.
They would take 8 nights if they could. They absolutely would.
Just to explain to you, I'm up. I have 2 games to schedule in the upcoming week on TTS. Both are against Chaos Knights in 2 different leagues. Man, what the heck is still going on? But that's my life. I think Chaos Knights are good still, especially in these environments. Like very good. But they, as Tom said, are now answerable. At least it seems so. They're much less of 6 bigs running at you, and if they flip, maybe there's not particularly a good answer to them as it used to be in WTC times.
In an 8v8, would you still consider bringing both?
No.
Yes.
Ooh.
I would. I think that would be perfectly okay-ish. It wouldn't be broken or mandatory, but I don't think it would be a bad choice necessarily. And I think you would be in a position, like actually, that's a good point. When I've been preparing with one of my clients for Challenges Cup, they played their first round against Double Knights composition, and it proved very difficult for them to pair against. And they've managed, but it was very unorthodox after the changes. Everybody expected Knights to fall down a little bit. So those Double Knight compositions can still work, but they are definitely not be all or end all.
Yeah, I guess being out of the thinking now is probably a bit of an advantage, right? If anything.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas everyone was readying themselves to deal with Knights.
I think right now you bring Double Knights, and suddenly your opponent might be again in a spot where they might answer one of those. But if you first defend CK,
yes,
do we have the answer? Or
yeah. No, that's a very valid point.
All right. I'm going to spotlight this for the last time tonight. And the last question from me about this list is there anything that particularly surprises you or particularly makes you sad?
I think it's looking... I think Custodes have a better win rate here than I'd have anticipated, given I haven't heard much excitement around Custodes in what feels like a very long time. But I guess they just are always out in the singles world, always something that I think people struggle with sometimes in a sort of gatekeeper kind of fashion, which I guess gets you a half decent win rate, doesn't it?
Or 24 plus guard, just do that.
Yes. I mean, I'm hearing that guard is quite a punchy thing right now. So
It is, but it's
yeah.
like the sort of list that you absolutely don't want to see. Like, take one, spam 6 of it, and then I've seen lists actually in the 8v8 TTS league that I'm playing right now. Our Custodes player dropped like all the Custodes characters. There are just 6 units of guard, Draxus, maybe Khaled's assassin, but no blade champion, nothing to particularly buff those guys, and it still works. It's very interesting, but very weird at the same time.
We did have some love for orcs in your chat from Orbin P. So just to shout them out, orcs seem to be in a really exciting place. A lot of people I know who play orcs are having a really good time with them at the moment. And Warhorde is obviously the main thing, but I'm seeing people play some Bully Boys. I'm seeing people play some Tactical as well. And it turns out the secret to happiness all along was Gaz and 20 mates just running around. And who knew that was what would finally make all of this worth it? But it was. So that's where we're at with orcs.
Pumba, anything that particularly stands out to you or surprises you or upsets you in this list?
So I think Tau are lower than I would have expected them to be. I think Tau are legitimately a broken derby right now.
I missed that spot when they became amazing. I don't know when that happened.
That happens when you buff Riptides. I think it just does that to a faction.
To an army.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think they fit the meta very well. I think they are legitimately just amazing right now. Incredibly scary to face with the amounts of wounds and like the Riptides especially. I think they're bueno.
They're really good.
Otherwise, I think we are, and I will mention this again, in the golden age of bans. Man, it's really good out there. If you want to play a faction, you can do it, and you can play a tournament. Every tournament there isn't a faction that dominates the meta. The spreads of like what everybody's playing is incredibly good.
Yep.
You've really got to enjoy those. You got to enjoy those winners when they exist, right? And just really get out.
Really do. Yeah, you really do.
Because it goes away.
I'm curious how badly it will get fucked up if another Growthmas happens. Do you want to do a bet if it happens?
Yeah.
You want to do a bet? That's going to be interesting because that's kind of everybody's tongues. I feel like if we are about to another Growthmas, like 13 detachments with.
Surely it will. There will always be something. There will always be something when that happens.
Yeah. So your final. Let's do this. Your final prediction, having the insights that you have, knowing the people that you know, and knowing the game through and through better than anyone else. Who do you think is gonna, or who person and who army is going to win Worlds?
Ooh.
So I think I need to at least try and support John Lennon, that is.
Let him win something, finally.
But at the same time, he's going to come second, and we all kind of know that. But I need to at least project the fact that he's going to try and get that first because he deserves it, and I think he's going to Raven Guard, which is even more fun. So I'm going to stand behind him. But he's going to probably lose the finals to Liam because everybody does that.
Yes, it's the done thing, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's go with the heart and say that John gets it this time. I think that would be awesome. I mean, like Raven Guard getting rules just before John plays Worlds feels like destiny, right? So it's gotta happen. It's gotta happen.
If we get Liam versus John Lennon finals, that's going to be actually the game.
I can watch that.
The game, right?
Yeah.
So let's hope for that. That's my.
That'd be great. Yeah.
That will be something to just then take and then break down and analyze tactically because that's what you should take to Warhammer classes basically.
Yeah. That would be a very, very cool game to watch.
All right, we all agree on this one. Great. Listen, guys. It was never my intention to cover the whole list. Like, it's just impossible to do within an hour or 1.5 hours, and I really want to let the guys go back and enjoy their families and their time and so on. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I know I did. Having guests like this makes me want to do this more. So thank you, guys. You really make this special, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
It's great fun. I love talking about 40k. It's nice to see you both. It's been great.
Lovely.
Awesome. Good to be
I
back
also
again.
I also hope that our viewers, followers, and listeners share the same viewpoint and they enjoyed it as well. And if you want more, do come back next week because there will be more of similar stuff. In the meantime, like, follow, subscribe, etc., etc. The stuff that you do with channels. Tom, you have your channel. Please advertise it now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, please do come and join our little party over at 6++ Gaming on YouTube. We do all sorts of nonsense, lots of videos. Some of it's tactical guides, some of it's just silly chat type shows. We've got all sorts, and it's always a good time. So yeah, come on over there and give us a listen if you haven't already.
Yeah, these guys are crazy. When I came back to doing this podcast with Joker, I said, "What's the fucking point?" There is 6++. There is this other podcast that we will talk about in a moment. Like, how do we even compete with that when they release content like crazy motherfuckers? So yeah, follow them because like you'll get the value for your money, and then Pumba.
Yeah, so I'm still a part of StatCheck, even though
Hell
I
yeah.
don't. I've handed over the mantle, so now there's a different crew doing Enter the Matrix focused on teams. But do follow them. It's Nassim, Brian, and Liam VSL.
Oh, what a
So what a
lineup.
trio
Yeah.
to follow up on what's happening there. There's the rest of the show. There's the main show. We all, of course, still are running the metadata dashboard, updated regularly to see all the greatest stats and small details of like detachments versus stuff, X and One records, stuff like that. So it's very well maintained, a great source of information for all of you. And I personally am also doing coaching for StatCheck. So if you are especially interested in teams preparation, anything like that, hit me up through the StatCheck website or on Discord, wherever you are like. And that's basically it. Go check
Well,
out all the shows on the network because everybody there is doing great stuff
and
and
it's
has been
actually
for years now.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
proper hard work. Like really show some appreciation to that because it takes a lot of effort. I know that as a fact as well. Still, Neil Kerr once said that Contact Lost is the place where we ask the best questions, and I'm going to stick to that. I'm going to repeat that. So if you're into a show that asks the best questions and does the best interviews, come back next week on Thursday. I can't tell you what time because Joker can't make it so early as 8 o'clock Polish time. He can only start at 10. So we might start at 10. We might start at 8. That's just part of the fun. You never know. Anyway.
Daylight saving is coming there.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember, this weekend we're changing, or whatever we do. I don't know how to call that. But yeah, stick with us, follow us, and we'll be back next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.